Welcome back to the Sasha and Friends show, everyone. This is going to be an amazing episode. I've got a lot of content lined up for you guys. I'm going to talk about a few things, mainly my trip to America that I recently went on, and we're going to talk about um, Baby No Money for the music segment. Before all that, though, I have a huge announcement. Are you guys ready for it? Are you ready for it? It's a massive announcement. As you can probably tell by the intro music I have chosen, and it is number three. So thank you for everyone who voted. The reason I chose number three is because of the way that it works better. So when I can introduce the episode, it goes on for longer, and it's different. It's the style of music that I like. So um, we're getting over all that now, and we're finally getting into a meaty part of my life recently. I went to America on a supercomputing trip, and my God, was it a once in a lifetime experience. It was a select entry trip along with my school and with a few of my friends, and we finally got into the school. So to get into the school is crazy enough in itself. 1,100 people apply to enter the school, then 400 of them get interviews, and then only 200 of them actually get into the school. So the chances of me getting into the school, let alone onto the trip, are already insanely small. The chances of getting onto the trip are so small. It starts off with 50 people apply for it, or roughly, I think it was about 50 people who applied for it last year. Then 30 people get interviews, and then only four end up going. And the reason this trip was so amazing and so special to me was because I went with one of my really close friends, Mohit. And the probability of both him and I getting in is just, it's really crazy. And the fact that we both got in made the trip so much better because we have simply a very unique friendship, and it's really crazy. We have the same style of humor. We like the same music. We're basically have no boundaries, so we joke and talk about anything. And it was simply one of the best moments of my recent life. Really, it really epitomizes what it is to be a like teenager, to mess around and to experience life the way that it should be. Um, so we left on a Saturday morning. We got dropped off. This segment of the podcast is going to be sort of a memento and an analysis while I still remember like everything or a lot of things about the trip itself. So we got dropped off at the airport, and they told us to meet at this gate, the Qantas gate. We're traveling with Qantas, so it made sense, but we still had to meet up. We had to go through international check-in. So I'm the second person that's there. The other person, that one of our other people going on the trip with us, Liam, he was already there and he was waiting for us, and I just kept texting. I, I was on time, by the way. Everyone else was late, so I'm in the Qantas area and I'm texting the group chat. Where is everyone? And then I find Liam, and then uh, Mohit, who lives the closest, he lives about 20 minutes away, shows up basically half an hour late. Vidansha's there next, and Mohit comes half an hour late, and we make fun of him because obviously, if you live 20 minutes away, while literally all of us, Liam, he's he lives 2 hours away, and he was there first. I live about an hour, and Vidansh lives about an hour and a half. And Mohit lives, 20 minutes away, and he gets there half an hour late. Because that's the law of, attraction. And if you live the furthest away, you make sure that to be there early and on time. And if you live the closest, you're usually late. That's always how it is. Um, we passed the initial security stage, and then we get pulled over because Mohit's brown, and we get security checked. You can really tell the difference of the security people between the US and here, because they're like, well, if he's brown, and he's in a group, we're gonna take the whole group apart. We're gonna split him away. But if that's in Australia, but if you go to the US, it's like he's brown, and in a group, we don't care about the group. We only care about the brown person. We don't even care about pretending to look not racist. We're just gonna racially segregate, which is fine. Like supposedly they don't, but like it's 100% obvious. Um, so we passed through security, and then we got a bit of time to mess around. I didn't realize how small Melbourne Airport was. We just walked around this one block basically of stores, and we thought it just would keep going and it would open up, but it's really really small. It's like 5 stores. You go around in a loop, and you're like, oh, I'm really back here again. Then you don't believe, and you keep walking around. Then we were about to board the plane, and we board. There's a second security check-in. So the way that security works at Melbourne Airport is, they put a sticker in your passport. I don't know if it's the number or the color. They take you through a set of questioning because it's the US. So it's like occupation, why you're traveling, all this other stuff. Then they do a second round right before you enter the plane. And right before you enter the plane, it was the three of us, Mohit, Vidansh, and I. We got through, but we didn't realize that Liam had departed from us and he went his own separate way. We didn't realize this. We didn't pay attention, and about 5 minutes later, we start panicking. Oh my god, do we really just leave Liam? And then we text the group chat, and yes, we really just left Liam. He got taken for a second round of questioning, and he was going to be boarding separately from us. Which honestly, I was quite surprised because I didn't think he would get taken for separate questioning, especially given that we were all as a group, and several times our supervisor told us or told the airport security and the airport staff that we shouldn't get separated because we're going as a group on this trip together. So it was very interesting. Anyway, we get on the plane. Liam's there already ahead of us. He got like express booking basically, express check-in because he got searched, so it took his time away. And oh, the plane trip was one of the best. Like actually, spent lots of time messing around. First, I didn't sleep the whole plane ride. I was so excited and so full of emotions. I genuinely couldn't believe that I even got onto this trip, let alone actually be finally on it, because it was a huge lead up from when we were accepted to when the trip was happening. It was 6 or 5 months. So you know you just can't believe it in those sort of situations. You wait so long, it takes forever, and then finally when it gets to it, you can't believe it. You can't believe that it's happening. So I'm on the plane, I'm sitting with my heat, I'm in the middle. That's the one thing I complained. I get up a lot, so I really wanted to get an aisle seat, but it's whatever. Looking back on it now, like it doesn't matter what seat I sat in. Like I went on this incredible trip, and the plane ride there was 14 hours, which sounds like a lot, but once you're there, it like the snap of a finger, and all of a sudden, boom, you've landed in LA. Spent most of the flight trying to sleep. I spent about half of the flight trying to sleep, and the other half messing around with Mohit. It was so funny. We have so many clips. I dared him to drink soy milk, and he spilt it all over his laptop, and it was such a tragedy. We found this one photo of him, like really dumb. It looks like he has a tear in his eye, and then you zoom out, and it's just him in school uniform for some reason. We watched a bunch of this show. I forgot what it's called. Uh, Patriot or something by. Oh, let me look it up. Hold on. It doesn't matter. Whatever. So we watched this show, and we spent a lot of time messing around and listening to music, and it was really good because we spent we have Mohit and I have the exact same humor. So I say something, he says something, and we just build and build. until eventually we're both just laughing and cannot stop laughing. And although it's bad, and it was bad on the plane because a lot of people were giving us bad looks, especially when they were trying to sleep. But it was very good for me. I was never not like once upset on this trip. I had so much fun. So we're on the plane for 14 hours. Takes so long, but also so short at the same time. You ever have those experiences where it feels it is a long time and it feels like a long time, but simultaneously it's short and you wish it would have lasted longer. That's pretty much the mood for this whole trip. Um, then we finally landed in LAX, and LAX on the way there, I hated it. I really disliked LAX, and generally the airport is very differently conducted to the one in Melbourne. Melbourne, it's really quick, very efficient. In LAX, so painful, and like I get it, you care about security, but seriously, it took like 2 hours from landing to swapping onto our next plane. We landed at 6 a.m. LA time, and our flight was 9 a.m. LA time. So we had 3 hour stopover. And when you get off the, we were one of the first planes to land because they have noise restrictions over LAX because it's really close to the residential part of Los Angeles. So when we landed, we were one of the first planes there. So we thought that given that we're one of the first planes there, we'll be able to run and speed run security. But um, we waited, and it was still about 2 hours. We um, got through security. I had to go. For some reason, my passport wasn't scanning, and then I had a big X over my identification slip. And then I showed one of the helpers there, and they go, "No, you did it wrong. Basically, like, go redo it." And I was like, "I don't know what to do," because we had to try and simultaneously, the four of us, the five of us, get through security as well as, you know, pass through everything and leave. So it was a whole doozy. We finally got our stamp, but then we also had to take our luggage and bring it onto the next plane. So no, actually, we had to grab our. We just had to check in onto the next plane. So about an hour and a half, we go into security, and then we go into checkout on the next plane. The restrictions for American planes are very different to the ones to Australia. You don't have to. We don't have to take our shoes off. We don't have to separate certain things that you have to do in America, and it's a lot less complicated. It's very simple actually. So we're standing in this line, and we finally get up to the trays, and the trays aren't automatic, so we think, or I think that they're going to push themselves. And I put all my stuff down, and then my bag gets rejected because I didn't separate my electronics. And Mohit's there, and then I told him what to do because I was in front of the group, and he separates all his electronics. And then we walk through the X-ray scanners, no big deal. But Mohit gets stopped so his turban can get swabbed because obviously he's a terrorist. He's the 9/11 people, not the 7/11 people. So he gets stopped for roughly not even 2 minutes max to get his turban swabbed. And in the meantime, since the trays don't push themselves, there are people behind them pushing. I was trying to sort my stuff back into my bag, and all of a sudden, some couple behind us pushed one of the trays so hard that all of his electronics just flopped onto the floor. I was so frustrated. I was very angry at the TSA agents for letting them do that. But his laptop, phone, everything just went straight onto the floor, and it was a solid meter drop from the conveyor belt. And we were getting yelled at for taking too long. It was such a stressful experience. I'm surprised none of his things broke, honestly. We were very lucky. But 2.5 hours later, we get to our plane. Plane is tiny from Los Angeles to Denver. It's a 80-seater plane. it's it's tiny. Like you would probably see that in a domestic airport here. We get on this plane. We're pretty good. Everything's fine. We meet this lady, American lady. She's coming back to Denver, and she told us that our we left too little time for the checkout, and we were like, no way, 3 hours. You could check into an international flight in Australia. We also didn't understand why we needed to redo our check-in, especially that we've passed an international check-in. But whatever, it doesn't matter anymore. Anyway, 2 hours later, we arrive in Denver. We go to our luggage and we collect our luggage. We collect all of our luggage except Vedansh. Vedansh's luggage got stopped in LAX for some reason and didn't get transferred to our Denver plane. Um, it was presumed because of perfume or deodorant or whatever that it didn't get through. But they said that they would bring it at 2 a.m. The next day, which is like not having clothes for you know 12 hours, especially given that you've just had like a 30-hour day, is a bit crazy. But anyway, we call an Uber, which was a whole ordeal. We tried to talk to taxis, and they gave us a really shit rate. So we had to go inside, use free Wi-Fi because the supervisor didn't have a data plan like the rest of us did, and I didn't have enough data to hotspot the supervisor. So we had to walk back inside, create an account for her, use the school's PayPal account in order to create an account and to call an Uber. Then by the time we called the Uber, it was, about an hour later. The Uber comes and we ordered a seven-seater, and there's six of us, or there's five of us and the driver, so there's six of us. But also, we didn't take into account that we've got five massive, international bags. So what do? We cram the international bags in the back, and four of us on the three seats in the back. So there's four of us sitting side by side by side, and one of us doesn't have seat belts, and we're all crammed next to each other, and we're on the freeway. Freeway says 55 miles an hour, which is roughly 90 kilometers an hour. And I see on the speedometer, because the way I was sitting diagonally across from the driver, I can see on her speedometer it says 77 miles an hour, which is 140 kilometers roughly. And people drive in America, driving and speeding is so normal. I was so scared because you speed a couple kilometers here, you lose, a couple of demerit points, which are like the points that you are allocated before you lose your license, and there are massive fines, like $400. And you don't you see people speed in America all the time. Then we get to the hotel. This is where the fun starts with the hotel, because the hotel was kind of shitty, and we definitely overpaid for it. So we go to the hotel, and the person that's checking us in is like, "Oh, we see your rooms. Just they're not cleaned. We're happy to take your luggage, and we'll drop you off." Because it was roughly 5 o'clock. We'll drop you off to a restaurant so you can have dinner. And we're like, all right, that sounds like a pretty good deal. So I take my backpacks. We take, our backpacks and our like carry-on items, and we all go to the restaurant. We have pretty good dinner. Like it's huge. We were expecting different like food and sizes of food, but we weren't expecting, the size of food. Like they have unlimited refills for coffee and tea. If you buy, they're called bottomless, and just the portion sizes, they're at least two, maybe three times larger than Australian portion sizes. So we have dinner, then we cross the road, and we got like candy or whatever, and we went back to the hotel. And this is where the fun starts, because another person serving us says, we don't see the students' rooms, but we see the supervisor's room. And we go, like, what? We booked this at least 6 months in advance. We have booking dates and confirmation and everything. So we don't know what happened, but apparently our bookings aren't there. And there's a long line of people starting to build up behind us. We were there for about half an hour, so this line of people starts building up behind us, and we go like, what do you mean it wasn't there? We've had the confirmation, we've gotten everything, we've paid. Why isn't it there? And they go, oh look, we don't know why it's not there. Could be an error in our system, but what we can offer you is these better rooms for I don't know what the rate was because the supervisor wouldn't tell us, but they offered us these better rooms, and since we didn't really have an option, we took them. We and then we go upstairs. It's around 7 p.m. Well, this is about 40 hours now. I haven't slept, and we have a meeting at 8 p.m. because hopefully the Queenslanders, because we teamed up with another school from Queensland to go to the convention together and at least meet them. However, at this meeting, we found out, the Queenslanders, they're delayed. Their plane is delayed, so they're not going to be here until tomorrow. Then what we found out, what I understood from the situation is there was a fraudulent attempt from another place in America to use the school card. The scam protection thought that the transaction for the deposit for the hotel was also fraudulent and cancelled the transaction. So effectively, we were out of rooms even though we paid ages in advance because of the scam protection. Either way, we got rooms, but they were not the best, and definitely we got way, way, way overcharged for staying at this hotel. Um, about it's 11 o'clock. About 45 hours I haven't slept, or it was 3 in the morning by the time I went to bed. But I was really jet lagged, and I was very, very hungry. So I was sharing a room with Mohit, and this is where a lot of our stories come from. We both decide that we want some food. We're bloody starving. We should get some food and experience some American food. So what we get is we get IHOP. We order it at 3 a.m. and we're watching End of the Fucking World, the second season because it just came out then. Uh, we're Netflix and chilling. We're joking around. We're having a good time. Then the food comes, and we do American food review because obviously, what do you do? I had a turkey BLT, and my God, that was the best meal I've had in a long time. I was really hungry, and he had hash browns. We try we went to bed around 4 a.m., which was a bit crazy because we had to wake up about 8 or 9 the next day. Next day we went to the convention center. That's what we were there for. We were there for the supercomputing 2019 at the Denver Convention Center. So we had breakfast. We go to the convention center, and we realized that it was only lectures that were available at that time. So we go to um, we have a look around, and obviously there's none of the exhibitions are open. So we're not particularly interested in any of the lectures because they don't really suit our interests. So we start exploring the city, and we walk past this Intel booth that was open, and it was really cool. We sat in a couple of lectures. One was about technology and astrology and observing the universe with huge new technological advancements of microscopes, and some honestly genuinely really cool technology is happening in our world as we know it right now, and a lot of people aren't aware. They just don't care because ooh, iPhone, shiny iPhone. Then we went back to exploring the city, and we finally got to part our own ways. Starbucks is overrated. I had a pumpkin spice latte. I paid $9 Australian, 6 US, and my God, it's big. It tastes good, but also it is highly overrated. It needs to be cheaper for it to be better. Then we had a look around. Target in America has food for some reason, like a grocery store. It's weird, but I got Cheetos, so no big deal. Then we had lunch. Can't even remember where we had lunch. I bought a few souvenirs, and I bought my AirPods Pro. This is the first Apple product I've ever purchased, and um, I stood by my promise. I said if Apple creates a product that is genuinely good and that I would purchase it. And I've had these AirPods now for at least 6 months, and they are bloody brilliant. Highly recommend. They're really expensive, so unless you have a need for wireless headphones, then don't buy it. Then we had to go back to the hotel and get ready for a technical reception. So that means we had to get fully, into full school uniform, which is kind of a bummer. But I really love the recognition that it brought us because we were easily the youngest. We were 100% the youngest people there. Every time we went up to an exhibition, they would tell us, "Oh, so how you guys are uni students?" And we're like, "No, no, 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 no. We are year 10 students." And they're like, "What the hell are you doing here?" And we're like, "Oh, we're from Australia as well." And they're like, "What the hell are you doing in Denver? Go home," basically. But not really. Like, they were truly supportive of our curious nature for technology. Um, the technical reception was really amazing. We missed out on the opening speech, but the all of the exhibitions were crazy. We got to see some awesome technology firsthand, and the actual supercomputing part of the trip. No duh. We got to see the applications that supercomputing has. So real-time surgery analysis and how a doctor can improve their surgery um, precision and accuracy, or how Amazon is able to process all of their orders and how they do their storage, because Amazon Web Services are responsible for 40% of the internet's traffic, and it's crazy the infrastructure that's needed to support these tech giants. Um, we visited a bunch of these exhibitions, but one of the most notable ones is ARM. So the processors that are in our phones are mostly responsible by ARM and other technologies similar to that. They had this little iPad with a set of challenge questions, and if you won them, you would win an Amazon Echo Show, which is like the Google Homes with the screens, but it's the Amazon version of that. Um, Day one, I found it with my heat first, and we went through it, and I did it the first time, not knowing 80% of it, just guessing, and I was top of the leaderboard. And we saw an opportunity here, and we took it because we came back for day 2, 3, and 4, and we won every day consistently because none of these businessmen who genuinely care about the product, they care about advertising what they can offer to a company and maybe even a job. But we're here purely for fun because we know even if we're offered a job, we probably can't take it because you sort of have to be uh, show your face or be within the remote area at least once every 6 months. But we're 16-year-old kids that came here for a school trip. I doubt they would take us on for legitimate work. Then we went to a regional town called Boulder. It's really Denver is really really pretty actually, but it's sort of very isolated. It takes a lot of time to travel from one part of the city to the next. So we went to Boulder. It's located right on the base of the mountains, and it's a really cool regional town, similar to somewhere you would go here for skiing. So Mount Buller, sort of the bases of Mount Buller, and similar to that. And we experienced real snow for the first time because Mount Buller snow, sorry to break it to you, is not real snow. It's actually mostly artificial. And the we experienced real snow, and it was just such a good time. Like, we threw snowballs at each other. We played like little kids. It was genuinely so much fun. Every night, Mohit and I basically tried new um, American fast food. I think day two we had Hungry Jack's. Then it was McDonald's or Mickey D's. Um, and it was truly lots of fun with the snow. And then the second last day, or the last day, second last day we spent actually doing activities was really kind of sad because we spent the whole time at the exhibition, and you could tell what the mood was. Everyone was kind of upset. Like, everyone was closing, everyone was packing down, and like it was a bit sad. I definitely didn't want to go because I really fell in love with all of the technology there. But at least there was a technical reception, to end it all. There was a closing reception. So it was held in this airplane museum, and there was like different themes of countries. So it was like Mexican, American, French, and like Spanish. And you could go to these different places, and they would have like different, national drinks and foods. So there would be mac and cheese for America, and there would be like tacos for Spain, and all of this other different food. But the really cool thing about it was you could sit in uh, jet planes, and there was a few cool like Star Wars X-wing replicas. So it was really cool, and I really miss it. I really want to go back. Um, when we got back to the hotel, it was really funny because we got closer with the Australian team, and we actually invited them all into our hotel. So it was about into our hotel room. It was about 12, midnight, and we had 7 people in our room. And all of a sudden, we were a bit loud. We were listening to music and doing a taste test of that day we did McDonald's. And all of a sudden, we get a phone call on our hotel phone, and everyone just shits themselves and runs out the room. The Queensland team. And I pick up the phone. I have to be a responsible adult, and it's like, oh, is this room blah blah blah? And we're like, yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like, oh, we had a few noise complaints. Could you keep it down? And I was kind of nervous that he would tell Monsieur Johnson, or our supervisor, that um, that we were, first of all, up at that time, and second of all, how we got a noise complaint. But he didn't, and we got to continue really all good. Um, we flew back home. It was really sad. I hate the quarantine rules of Australia. They didn't let me bring in my goddamn hot Cheetos, and now I really want them here, and they don't do them here because they do Cheeto puffs instead of the real thing. Like, Australia, step up your game. Make the real flaming hot Cheetos, not flaming hot Cheeto puffs. It's not the same, Biting it into a packet of air is nowhere near the same crunchy and consistency of the densely packed Cheeto. That's my complaint to the whole nation of Australia. Take that. But genuinely, it was one of the best trips of my life, and ideally, I want to go to CES with Mohit. But life moves on, and maybe we'll even get Mohit on the show, and then we can talk about our favorite moments of um, supercomputing trip. Now, next we have my musician artist of the week, Baby No Money, or BB No $sign. He's only 24. He was born in Vancouver, Canada. And my God, does this man have such amazing outfits? His fashion sense is a whole another world. Like, you can see some of the outfits here, and oh, Jesus. Someone said that he's basically a Gen Z Johnny Depp, and I have to agree with that. He has almost the face of Johnny Depp. Um, he's very Johnny Depp esque. Um, he blew up on TikTok with the song La 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 La, and then he later mocks it in his "Shining on My Ex" song, which is really funny. He goes, um, "If this song blows up on TikTok, I swear to God, man," or something along the lines. And he obviously uses the reverse psychology of if it blows up, if the song blows up on TikTok, I'm gonna get mad. And using this reverse psychology, he like knowingly makes his music more popular, and his music is just gonna keep blowing up. Um, One of my favorite songs is "Too Easy" from the album Baby Steps, and genuinely he's extremely creative, and I really like what he's doing with all of his albums and music. One thing I dislike about it is that he puts more singles than albums, and it's really annoying because he has all of these singles that are really really good, and he has a few songs from his albums that are really really good, but when you try and find them, there's the single version, the EP version, and then the album version. It's like, I just want you to put it in either an album or keep it as a single. I don't want you to mix it together. There's only a few artists that can pull it off. Like for example, when Post Malone teases a new song, like he'll put out "Wow" and then he'll put it on his album. That's fair. Like that, I'm okay with. But if you put it in three different places and I have to look in three different places to find the one song, then it's like, no, keep it on the one platform, buddy, bucko. Too Easy is one of my favorite songs of his. It's a classic. It's just a classic. Like there's nothing wrong with it, and it's a banger. So just listen up. I really like the way that he uses the build up into a song. So he'll have a like basic bland beat, and then he'll overlay it and he'll build up on it. So for example, you have this really basic doo, doo, and then he builds up on it.
All this shit too easy, dog. Money be, Apple be, for the be, quit
So you saw there, he kept building onto it. He went from the basic, and then he added a bunch of other instruments. His lyrics are very creative as well, actually. Like for example, this is from his um, Baby Steps album, which, or it's actually BB Steps, so Baby Steps, and his brand is Baby No Money, and the album cover is of a baby, and he actually uses father bee, honey bee, like all of these euphemisms for parental figures. So if we go back,
money be, Apple be, for the be, quit be, grab my money.
papa bee, father bee, like all of the you know terms for a parental figure. Um, and I really like his brand and his style, and just Too Easy from his Baby Steps album is really good, and I highly recommend listening to it. Um, this is going to be the end of my podcast this time. Please, please, please feel free to support me on Patreon. Follow me on Instagram. And everyone, I hope you have a lovely weekend.